Thank you. And wonderful to be here to talk about our company, Microba Life Sciences. So I think we're about 2 hours post-lunch, and I want people to think about their lunch decision. I saw some people going for the cold potato salad, high in resistant starch. Well done, good choice. I saw some people going around the corner and going for the sweets, no judgment, everything in moderation. But I want you to think now for a moment about what happens to that food. So it's travelling through your digestive tract, ultimately where it collides with trillions of microorganisms that then produce a vast array of bioactive compounds that act both locally in the gastrointestinal tract, but also systemically throughout the body. And we now know are absolutely essential for maintenance of health, but also in the development of a range of chronic diseases. So at Microba, our investment thesis is that those trillions of microorganisms, known as your gut microbiome, represent one of the biggest untapped opportunities to improve human health. That will see microbiome testing and therapeutics become a routine part of healthcare, and we believe that we have the best technology in the world to unlock that. So over the last 5 years, based on that world-leading technology, supported by peer-reviewed publication and our two co-founders who are in the top 1% of cited researchers globally, we've been building to establish a global dominant position in both microbiome testing and in therapeutic development from the microbiome to capture those opportunities. And our commercial model to execute on this is outlined here. We deliver testing services globally to clinicians, consumers, and research clients, together with market-leading distribution partners. Those services, now for 5 years, have been building this large proprietary data bank with consented and de-identified customer data. Then we've been mining that data to discover and develop these novel therapies and ultimately execute pharma out-licensing transactions on those valuable assets. We're a data-driven biotech company, but we're commercial stage and already delivering international revenues today and delivering strong year-on-year growth. Our testing services are now expanded into 13 countries. We've established a range of really valuable partners both on the testing services side and our therapeutic development side, which I'll take you through in a moment. That data bank has become a globally unique asset. We believe it's the most valuable of its kind globally. And from that data bank, we have 3 therapeutic programs, and we've just moved our first lead drug candidate for inflammatory bowel disease into a first-in-human phase 1 clinical trial. And underpinning all of this, we've established a truly world-class team, including Deputy Chair and Chair of our Medical Advisory Board, Professor Ian Fraser, who is the inventor of Gardasil, the cervical cancer vaccine, which is now a significant drug for Merck, generating over $7 billion in annual sales. And also our head of therapeutics, Professor Trent Munro, who joined us from Amgen in California last year to move our therapeutics into clinical development. We've just closed out a really big half of the year and quarter with a range of significant milestones. At the end of last calendar year in December, we entered into a major strategic partnership with Sonic Healthcare, and they became a substantial shareholder, taking a 20% equity stake in the company. And what we laid down with that partnership was also a basis for them to be able to distribute their testing across their 7 major markets. And last month, we just inked the first of those distribution arrangements to take our technology and in particular a new test Australia-wide together. And so we're excited to move that into launch next quarter. And I'll give you more insight into that product and what it is. Our second major milestone was continuing our expansion work with SynLab, which is Europe's largest pathology company. We signed Brazil during the quarter, opening up South America to Microba for the first time. And that's adding on to the additional 6 countries that we had recently signed, continuing to expand access to our testing across Europe and Latin America. In addition, just a quarter and a half ago, we launched a new test which we call MetaExplore. That test I'll tell you more about in a moment, but we've experienced really strong growth and uptake from healthcare professionals and patients of that testing. best exemplified through 87% growth between March and June, showing that we're off to a really rapid start with that new test into market. And finally, we matured into a clinical stage drug development company, taking our first drug candidate all the way from discovery through to manufacturing of a drug product with excellent preclinical profile into a first-in-human dosing in a phase 1 clinical trial. So I'm going to take you quickly through our testing services and then switch gears to talk about our therapeutics. But first, to outline what we're doing here on our testing services business, we're building a leading microbiome testing company through a globally scalable distribution partner model. That model enables our partners to access our platform to deliver a microbiome test powered by our technology into their major markets, and we're moving quickly. The core of this testing business is these two healthcare products. MetaXplore, which I just mentioned before, launched just over a quarter and a half ago, directed to individuals that have what's known as a disorder of the gut-brain interaction. So these are chronic GI disorders covering functional constipation, functional diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, and a range of others. It's estimated that there's over 150 million of those addressable patients that are currently underserved by the current testing options available to them. And there's a significant component of the microbiome that's influencing those chronic GI disorders. So this test is now in market. As I mentioned, 87% growth between March and June. And we've also seen significant growth in healthcare professionals signing on to access that testing and registering with an account, with 480% growth quarter on quarter, which is the leading indicator for growth for that product. Our second product we just announced last month with Sonic Healthcare, called MetaPanel. That technology leverages our core metagenomic analysis to be able to perform comprehensive gastrointestinal infectious disease pathology, also covering off virulence factors so that you understand the detail about the pathogen that you identify, together with antimicrobial resistance gene profiling so that you can specifically target and treat that organism. The initial beachhead market for that test is in high risk and immunocompromised individuals within a hospital setting, where a gastrointestinal pathogen presents as a significant risk to that individual, either in a complication from the surgery, longer stay and cost for the patient in terms of time in hospital, and ultimately a high risk of mortality. It's estimated there's over 16 million of these addressable patients per annum. We're excited about the opportunity domestically here as we move to launch with Sonic Healthcare, but also internationally, and particularly in North America, where we've seen strong pricing opportunity for this product. And we've also been able to clearly define a path to launch that testing quickly into the US market through a hospital direct bill strategy. So what that means is that as we move to launch this in Australia, we can quickly follow suit into North America and open up that market to us. There we go. So we've got market-leading products at the forefront of this emerging microbiome testing sector. We've also got excellent distribution of those products. We've built carefully a leading bench of medical diagnostic leaders to take this testing into market with us internationally, including major shareholder Sonic Healthcare across their 7 major markets, Synlab, Europe's largest pathology company, providing access to Europe and Latin America, Genova Diagnostics, which is the leading GI pathology company in North America, and finally G42 Healthcare, which covers the Middle East. So with those partners, we now have access to 35 countries, and we've operationalized 13 of those countries today. So this opportunity that I see for our testing business is significant. We're at the forefront of this rapidly emerging market. We ultimately see that this testing will become as routine as a blood test in health and chronic disease management. And certainly that was the basis for Sonic Healthcare's investment. what success here looks like for me is that we become the Ariosa Diagnostics, or the foundation medicine of Microba. Ariosa Diagnostics were at the forefront of prenatal genetic testing, ultimately built to around 50 million US in revenue and sold for around 600 million. Foundation Medicine ultimately were a pioneer in cancer companion diagnostics, grew to around 200 million in revenue and ultimately sold for around $2 billion to Roche. So we're excited about the growth opportunity for that business, both domestically and internationally, as we move these tests into market. So that's our testing business, generating year-on-year growth in revenues and sales. But in addition to those growing revenues, it's also generating that valuable data that grows our data bank, which is the foundation for discovery and development of these novel microbial cell therapies. We've made rapid progress here, and we've really matured this part of our business since our ASX listing last year. We're developing drugs that have demonstrated novel, compelling biology in a preclinical setting, strong preclinical safety profile, and we've demonstrated the ability to scale in manufacture, which has been the stumbling block for many of our peers in this space. Underlying that, we've built a multidisciplinary team and assembled a really fantastic set of partners to progress these programs through clinical development. And the heart of all of this is our data-driven drug discovery platform, which starts on the left with our large proprietary data bank, where we have a core healthy population and we have defined disease groups. We can then interrogate that data using advanced biostatistics and artificial intelligence methods to find what one of our co-founders calls the needles in the haystack, the key organisms and associated biology that represent therapeutic opportunity. We bring them into the laboratory, isolate them, study them for the first time, and look at them in a range of preclinical models, and then ultimately scale them up in manufacturing and bring them into human clinical trials. And that's exactly where we are today. So we have 3 programs spanning inflammatory bowel disease, cancer immunotherapy, and autoimmune diseases. As I mentioned before, the inflammatory bowel disease program has gone all the way through to discovery, now to first dosing in humans and due to read out from that phase 1 in December this year, a really important catalyst for the company. Our cancer immunotherapy program is developing an adjuvant therapy to improve response rates to cancer immunotherapy, particularly immune checkpoint inhibitor therapy. We've demonstrated strong preclinical animal data, and we're moving quickly now to round out that preclinical package and get to lead candidate selection, ultimately setting up for a phase 1b clinical trial. And finally, we have an interesting program in autoimmune diseases covering psoriatic arthritis, autoimmune liver disease, and lupus. We've got a discovery program underway with New York Stock Exchange listed and synthetic biology leader Ginkgo Bioworks, who also became a major shareholder in our IPO. So we're really excited about the opportunity ahead for each of these programs. Importantly, Microba doesn't see itself as a late-stage drug developer. We have a genuine platform for drug discovery from the microbiome. We have leads established for 18 chronic diseases. We're intensively focused on 3. So our job is to do initial preclinical and clinical de-risking, and then ultimately execute pharma out-licensing transactions with the right strategically aligned partners. And there's a range of deal precedents ranging from $500 million up to now $11 billion. The example at the top, where Merck just acquired Prometheus Biosciences based on the readout from their phase 2 trial of their inflammatory bowel disease asset. So just to close out, I'm at time. We've just closed out a really significant half of the year, delivering on all of our promises and milestones for investors. We've got a really significant set of milestones, both on the testing business and on the therapeutic side, over the next 6 months. We're in a strong position with $32 million cash at bank, and are really excited about the opportunity and value inflection points that will be unlocked for shareholders over the coming quarters. So thank you very much for your time, and please come grab me to have a chat.